26 years. That's how long man can bleed without dying. Dominic Ravenclaw stood at the war room window watching snow settle over the northern Rockies like ash over a funeral pyre. The map table behind him told stories in faded ink. Red markers clustering where Victor Kane's Ironclaw pack pressed northward neutral pins, showing Marcus Steele's cautious Eastern Ridge territory, progressive symbols marking Derek Stone's Western holdings. 5 packs surrounding his own, each one waiting for him to show weakness. They wouldn't have to wait much longer. 50 years had carved deep lines into his face, silver threading through the dark beard he'd worn since taking the Alpha crown 3 decades back. Scars mapped his knuckles. Every challenge survived every wolf who'd thought youth trumped experience, now bones decorating mountain passes. But the body kept score. The left shoulder site of an old silver wound ached in the cold. Ribs cracked 3 winters past, didn't heal like they used to. Time was a patient enemy, and it was winning. The door opened without ceremony. Garrett Storm entered carrying 2 cups of coffee that smelled of chicory and necessary lies. His second-in-command moved with the easy confidence of someone who'd fought beside him for 20 years, 5 winters younger, but still sharp enough to be dangerous. Eastern borders quiet. Dominic accepted the coffee, let heat seep into scarred palms. Too quiet. Kane's waiting for something. Garrett joined him at the window. Every year that passes, the math gets worse for you. I can still take him. In a fair fight, but Kane doesn't fight fair. Then I won't give him the opening. Garrett's silence spoke volumes. The opening already existed, no mate, no heir, a pack held together by stubborn will and fading authority. The council circled like carrion birds, smelling blood they'd helped spill decades ago. They want you to name a successor from their bloodlines. They want power they didn't earn. Then secure your own line. Take another mate. Produce an heir before Elena was my mate. Wolves mate once. Elena's been dead 26 years. The words tasted like copper. Dead. They told him she was dead, brought him her blood-soaked dress from the river, her broken locket. Said rogues had taken her in the night that neither she nor the unborn child she'd carried could have survived. But he'd felt the mate bond stretch, not snap. Felt her alive somewhere beyond reach, a ghost connection that had driven him to the edge of madness. He'd sent hundreds of wolves searching, found nothing. No body, no trail, just absence and the slow erosion of hope. The council meeting's in an hour. They're pushing again. Let them push. After Garrett left, Dominic returned to the window. Young warriors sparred in the courtyard below their movements, sharp with hunger he remembered from his own youth. Families crossed toward the communal halls, children laughing without knowing how fragile safety was. This was what Elena had believed. They could build a pack that valued strength but tempered it with mercy. She'd softened edges he'd thought permanent, shown him that power without compassion was just tyranny wearing a crown. And they'd murdered her for it. The council had smiled through condolences while their hands were still wet with her blood. He knew it bone deep, felt it in how they'd pushed him to forget too quickly, replace too easily. But without proof, suspicion was just paranoia. So he'd waited, watched, let them think they'd won. 26 years of watching. The training yard called with the pull of old addiction. Dominic descended stone stairs worn smooth by generations of alphas, past tapestries, depicting victories centuries old, past armor that had belonged to his father and grandfather. History weighed heavy in these halls. Garrett waited shirtless despite Montana winter holding a dulled training blade. You up for this, old man? Dominic shed his shirt without answering, let cold bite skin that bore a lifetime of scars. The wolf's brand marked his left pectoral, pack identification burned into flesh at his first shift. He picked up a blade, tested its weight. First blood or yield? Yield. Can't bleed you before the council meeting. They circled, boots crunching frozen mud. Watching warriors fell silent, recognizing this wasn't training, but measurement. Garrett struck first a testing slash. Dominic parried with minimal movement. The second followed with combinations designed to force ground. Steel sang against steel. Younger wolves would have met aggression with aggression. Dominic had buried too many young wolves to make that mistake. He defended with economy, reading rhythm, watching for the pattern every fighter developed, waiting for the moment when habit overrode thought. There. Garrett's third slash came fractionally higher than the second. Dominic ducked under instead of parrying, closed distance, drove his shoulder into Garrett's chest. The impact expelled air staggered the larger man. Dominic's blade found his second's throat. Yield. Garrett grinned through breathlessness. Still got it, just slower getting it done. Watching warriors clap fists against chests, Pack's salute to demonstrated skill. Dominic stepped back, feeling his heart hammer harder than it should, muscles protesting exertion they'd once handled easily. Your shoulder hesitated on the third parry. Old wound, it'll hold. For how long? As long as it needs to. A young warrior approached, face still soft with recent adolescence. Alpha, that was impressive. Could you show me the pattern recognition? Dominic studied the youth's eager hunger. Watch shoulders, not the blade. Body moves before weapon. Learn to read telegraphs, survive fights you should lose. The warrior absorbed wisdom like gospel, bowed, retreated. That's what they need. Garrett's voice dropped low. A teacher, someone to pass down knowledge before it's gone. I'm not dead yet, but you will be. What do you leave behind? The words settled like snow, soft and inexorable. The council's waiting. Dominic pulled on his coat, heavy wool lined with fur from a wolf he'd killed 30 years back in his first challenge as Alpha. Let them wait. But he moved toward the castle anyway because duty always outweighed pride. The council chamber occupied the east tower's highest point windows, overlooking all approaches. 6 chairs in a semicircle, the Alpha's seat elevated. Only 3 positions were occupied. Dominic had refused to fill the empty seats since Elena's death, his silent declaration of mistrust. Thorn Grimwald sat rigid as carved stone, 65 years worn like armor. White hair, military, short, face granite, and grudges. He'd lost his son Ethan a decade back in a border skirmish that diplomacy might have prevented. The old wolf had never forgiven Dominic for choosing negotiation over retaliation. Celine Blackwood occupied Thorn's left, elegant like predators who'd learned to move through society without alarming prey. 55 and beautiful in a precise, cold way. Dark hair swept back from features that might have been ice sculpture. Her eyes calculated constantly. Bennett Stone sat last, quieter than the others, 60 years carried with the weight of unspoken secrets. Broad-shouldered, thick-chested, the build of someone who'd been a warrior before politics claimed him. His eyes held what the others lacked: doubt, maybe conscience. Alpha, Thorn's voice cut like a blade. Thank you for joining us. Dominic took his seat. Let elevation speak for him. You called the meeting. We've been patient. Patience has limits. Get to the point. The old warrior leaned forward. You're 50. Ruled 30 years without mate or heir. The pack needs succession. You need to secure the line. The pack needs an alpha who can lead. I'm still breathing. For now, Celine's voice wrapped silk around steel. But Kane is circling. Steel wavers. Stone sends messengers asking about your future plans. They see what you refuse to acknowledge, which is that time isn't your ally. Celine traced wood grain with one finger. You're a warrior, Dominic. One of our best. But warriors fall. When you fall without succession, this pack tears itself apart. Then I won't fall. Pride isn't strategy. Dominic kept his hands still on the armrest, body deliberately relaxed. Strategy is refusing to name an heir from your bloodlines. Thorn's nephew, perhaps. Celine's cousin. Give you what you've angled for since Elena died. Thorn's jaw tightened. We want the pack protected. You want power. The accusation hung like smoke. Bennett shifted uncomfortably, the only one who seemed bothered by where this was heading. We want what's best for Ravenclaw. Thorn's voice went flat and cold. If you can't see the difference between that and personal ambition, perhaps you've ruled too long. Dominic rose slowly, let his presence fill the space. I see 3 wolves who've grown comfortable, who've forgotten what it means to serve instead of command, who look at a pack and see property instead of people to protect. He moved to the window. Elena understood that. She knew strength without compassion was tyranny. That's why you killed her. Silence could have cut glass. Careful, Alpha. Celine remained controlled, but something sharp moved beneath. Grief makes men say things they regret. I don't regret truth. Dominic turned, met each set of eyes. She was human, pregnant with my heir. You couldn't stomach either. So you arranged her disappearance, made it look like rogues spent 26 years pretending to mourn. Thorn stood, chair scraping stone. You have no proof. I have instinct. And instinct keeps me alive when smarter men fall. Instinct isn't evidence. Celine stayed seated. If you had proof, you'd have brought charges decades ago. Instead, you brood and suspect and poison your own judgment. Bennett spoke quietly. Alpha, we understand your grief. Don't. The word cracked like a whip. Don't talk about loss when your hands helped create it. The council member went silent, something like shame flickering before control reasserted. This meeting is over. Dominic moved toward the door. You want me to name an heir? Stop giving me reasons to suspect every wolf who wants the position. The pack needs leadership. Thorne's words followed. Not suspicion. The pack has leadership. When I'm ready to step down, you'll know. And if Kane challenges before then I'll kill him. Like I've killed everyone who's challenged me for 30 years. He left them in their tower-descended stairs, worn by centuries of alphas facing the same pressures. The weight of the crown was supposed to be metaphorical. Nobody mentioned how it actually felt. Dominic found himself walking without conscious direction, muscle memory, guiding him to the West Wing's private gallery. The door should have been locked. He kept the only key. But it stood ajar, lamplight spilling across dark stone. Every instinct went sharp. His hand found the blade at his hip, real steel, not dulled training metal. 20 inches of folded iron that had opened throats and settled disputes. He pushed the door wider, silent on hinges. He maintained himself. The gallery stretched before him, walls lined with portraits of every alpha who'd held the title. Dark oils captured stern faces, painted eyes that seemed to track movement. His father stared from the largest frame, harder than Dominic remembered. But the portrait set apart from the others held the intruder's attention. Elena's painting hung illuminated by lamps Dominic kept perpetually lit. The artist had captured her in stillness, fair hair, loose around shoulders, eyes holding sadness and strength that had first drawn him. She wore a simple dress, nothing like formal regalia, and around her neck, the silver locket he'd given her when proposing. The locket with a pressed wolfsbane flower inside, poisonous and beautiful. A child stood before the painting, small fingers stretched toward canvas, 6 years old hair like summer wheat catching lamplight. She wore a servant's dress mended beyond recognition of original fabric. Behind her, a woman reached out with poorly concealed panic, trying to pull the child away quietly. 26, maybe 27, fair hair in a practical braid, eyes catching light with a familiar green shade. Who are you? The woman spun, placing herself between Dominic and the child. Terror blanked her features before control took over. She dropped into a clumsy curtsy, head bowed every line, screaming submission. I'm so sorry, Your Majesty. We didn't mean to intrude. My daughter was curious. I should have watched her better. It won't happen again. Eastern Territories accent border provinces where humans and wolves mixed uneasily, where survival meant knowing when to bow and when to run. But the child didn't bow. She peeked around her mother's skirts with eyes that should have been brown or blue. Instead, they caught lamplight and flashed amber for a heartbeat. Dominic's hand fell from his blade. His world narrowed to that flicker of gold. I asked a question. Who are you? The woman's voice shook despite attempted steadiness. Nora Ashford, Your Majesty. We're new household staff. Kitchen. I apologize for... Where did you get that? His eyes had found the locket at her throat. Simple silver tarnished with age. Different chain from the portrait. But the shape, the size, the way it caught light, identical. Nora's hand flew to her neck, covering the locket instinctively. It was my mother's. Her mother's before that. Family heirloom for what was your mother's name? The demand came sharper than intended. Control had slipped. 26 years of questions crystallizing into this moment. Catherine Ashford. She died 2 years ago in Maiden. Name I don't know, she never said. Didn't talk about her past. The child spoke with fearless clarity. Mama, why is Grandma in the castle? Dominic's eyes moved from locket to painting to woman's face. Same bone structure, same eye shape, same stubborn jaw. Elena wore when arguing points she refused to concede. The floor tilted. How old are you? Nora's confusion was evident. 26, last spring. The math hit like a fist. 26 years since Elena disappeared. 3 months pregnant when she'd vanished. This woman's age matched perfectly. You look like her. Dominic heard his own voice from a distance. The portrait. Elena Blackwood. My maid. who disappeared 26 years ago. Nora went white. That's not possible. My mother was human. A village healer. She never... Did she tell you about the Northern Territories? About wolves? Why you needed to stay hidden? The woman's silence answered. The child tugged her mother's hand. Mama, who's the lady? Dominic knelt slowly, movements careful and non-threatening. What's your name, Lily? Beautiful name. How old? 6. Your father? Lily's expression dimmed. Papa died before I was born. Mama says he was brave. Dominic looked at Nora, saw confirmation. Do you know what you're carrying? What she is, she's my daughter. That's all that matters. Look at her eyes. Really look. Lily blinked. Lamplight caught something inhuman, amber flash, vertical pupil. Gone as quickly as it appeared. She can't shift. Nora's voice went defensive. Never shown any signs. She doesn't need to shift to carry the blood. Dominic straightened, mind racing. If Elena fled pregnant, if she bore a daughter with enough wolf genetics to pass forward, if that daughter had a child of her own, Lily wasn't just human. She was alpha-blooded, diluted, but present. His heir. Come with me, both of you. Now, Your Majesty, please. This isn't punishment. Dominic held the door. But we can't talk here. Not where others might overhear. Nora hesitated, every instinct screaming refusal. But she was smart enough to know running from an alpha was suicide. Smart enough to understand their lives had just changed irrevocably. She took Lily's hand and followed. Dominic led them through corridors. Servants rarely saw routes, avoiding common areas and prying eyes. His mind calculated scenarios. If this was true, if Elena had survived, given birth, kept their child hidden, 26 years, everything he'd believed was wrong. And if the council discovered it, they'd finish what they'd started. His private study occupied the Alpha Wing's corner, smelling of leather and old wood. Books lined walls, texts on pack law and territory management. A desk dominated the space, covered in papers and administrative detritus. But he moved toward the hidden compartment, a bookshelf section that swung inward when the right volume was pulled. Elena's desk sat behind it, preserved exactly as she'd left it. He'd been unable to dismantle her workspace. He'd searched the desk 100 times after her disappearance, looking for clues. Found nothing. But he'd never thought to look for letters she'd never sent. The hidden drawer revealed itself only when light hit at the right angle. Dominic's fingers found the catch. The compartment slid open. Inside lay letters, paper yellowed with age, ink faded but legible, each addressed to my daughter. His hands shook, lifting the first. Sit. Nora and Lily obeyed. Dominic handed her the top letter, watched her unfold it with trembling fingers. Elena's handwriting, the careful loops, slight right, slant, flourish, T's. Nora's lips moved as she read, her face cycling through disbelief and horror and grief. Tears tracked silently. When she finished, she looked up with too much understanding. She ran from you. From them. Dominic's voice roughened. The council, planning to kill her. Kill you. I never knew. The letter explained everything in Elena's measured prose. Overheard council discussions about eliminating the human problem. Plans to make it look like rogue attack, clean and deniable. Her realization that Dominic couldn't protect her because he was surrounded by wolves plotting her death. So she protected herself, protected their child, by erasing herself from existence. Nora read through other letters, each adding details to a story Dominic had never known. Elena describing pregnancy fear, love for a daughter she'd never meet. Instructions for survival. Warnings about Northern Territories. Final messages of love and desperate apology. When Nora finished the last letter, she sat silent, then looked at Dominic with something like sympathy. She loved you. The words hit harder than blades. Didn't trust me to protect her. Didn't trust anyone. Can you blame her? Dominic moved to the window. Stranger, daughter. The word felt foreign and familiar. What was she like? Nora's voice softened. Kind almost to a fault. Helped anyone who asked, even when we had nothing. She was a healer. People came from 3 villages for her remedies. And strong, not physically, but here. Her hand touched her chest. She used to say, where there is no path, make one with kindness. Nora's smile carried grief and love. She never told me about this. About you. Any of it. She was protecting you. If the council learned you existed, they'd kill us. How long have you been in the castle? 3 months. We needed work. Safety. After my husband died, his family blamed me. drove us out. We had nowhere. So you came to the one place your mother warned against. We were starving. Nora's voice hardened with survival's practicality. I'd have walked into a dragon's den to feed my daughter. Now you're in a wolf's den. Now we're family. The audacity made him reassess her. Not just practical, bold. The kind that got you killed or kept you alive depending how you wielded it. Lily, who'd been quietly absorbing adult conversations, suddenly spoke. Are you really my grandpa? Dominic looked at this 6-year-old carrying his bloodline diluted but not destroyed. Alpha genetics ran strong. Even through generations of humanity, the wolf persisted. Yes, Mama says grandpas protect families. Will you protect us? The question landed like a vow. With everything I have, I promise. The child smiled and something in his chest stirred with warmth he'd thought dead. Nora stood. What happens now? Now we prepare for war. War the council will try to eliminate you once they learn you exist. Other alphas will challenge your legitimacy. The pack will divide. His eyes met hers. This won't be easy or safe. But if we're smart and strong, we survive. And if we run, you spend the rest of your lives looking over shoulders. Eventually they find you. So we fight. We fight. Lily tugged her mother's sleeve. Will there be real fighting? Dominic knelt again. Maybe. But first we fight with words and laws and politics. That's how you win battles before they become bloodbaths. Lily nodded, absorbing wisdom. Can I learn to fight too when you're older? Footsteps in the corridor, Garrett's distinctive gait. His second knocked once and entered, eyes going to Nora and Lily, widening, fractionally returning to Dominic with unspoken questions. We need to talk. Privately. Dominic led Nora and Lily to an adjacent sitting room with comfortable furniture and windows overlooking Eastern Mountains. Stay here. Don't answer for anyone but me. Understand? Nora nodded, pulling Lily close. In the corridor, Garrett waited with crossed arms. Well, Elena's daughter. Impossible. I have letters in her handwriting explaining everything. Garrett's control slipped for a fraction before locking down. The child, my granddaughter, the second ran a hand over his face, processing faster than most. The council cannot know. Not yet. Not until we're ready. When's that? Tomorrow. I'm calling emergency pack assembly at noon. That's insane. You need time to prepare, build support. Time is what we don't have. Someone saw them in the gallery. Servant gossip spreads faster than wildfire. By morning, rumors will be everywhere. Better to control the narrative. Garrett absorbed this tactical mind already working. You're gambling everything on one move. I've been gambling for 26 years. At least now I know what I'm playing for. They reached the war room. Garrett moved to the window, watching sun descend. If you're doing this, you need allies. Real ones. Marcus Steele. Will support you if evidence is solid. He loved Elena. Derek Stone, progressive enough to back a half-blood claim. But he'll want concessions. And Kane Garrett's jaw tightened. Will challenge the moment he hears. This is the opening he's waited for. Then we'd better be ready. What do you need? Double guard on Alpha Wing. No one near Nora or Lily without my permission. Send runners to Marcus and Derek. I want them here for assembly, and find out where every council member is, what they're doing, who they're talking to. Consider it done. One more thing. Garrett paused. If this goes wrong, if I fall, protect them. Get them out far away. Make sure they survive. It won't come to that. Promise anyway. His second's eyes held grief. I promise. After Garrett left, Dominic stood watching shadows lengthen. Somewhere, Elena's bones lay buried, her secrets finally surfacing. He'd spent half his life mourning her, the other half trying to honor what she believed. Now he had a chance to make it right, even if it cost everything. The evening meal filled the great hall with hundreds of wolves sharing food and reinforcing bonds. Dominic sat at the high table, flanked by empty chairs that should have held maiden heirs. The council occupied seats below, Thorne and Celine making conversation, Bennett eating with mechanical efficiency. Dominic watched with new eyes, searching for guilt signs. Thorne's weathered face revealed nothing but usual stern disapproval. Celine smiled and charmed. Bennett avoided all eye contact. Which one had suggested Elena's murder? Which carried it out? Or had they all participated, spreading guilt thin enough that no single wolf bore full weight? The thought of them sitting here eating his food, pretending loyalty while their hands were stained, it took every ounce of control not to shift and tear throats. But that would make him a murderer without proof. A servant approached with wine, refilling with practiced efficiency. The woman kept eyes down, moving with the invisibility marking household staff. Dominic barely noticed until she leaned in to pour, voice low enough only he could hear. Kitchen says 2 new servants living in Alpha Wing. A woman and child. Tongues are wagging. His expression didn't change. Let them wag. The servant withdrew. Damage done. Word was spreading. By morning, everyone would know something unusual was happening. He needed to move faster. After the meal, Dominic returned to the sitting room. A guard stood outside Finn, a young warrior Garrett had picked. Trustworthy. The man saluted. Anyone try to enter servant with food? I checked it first. Good. Maintain position through night. No one except me or Garrett. Inside, Nora had attempted normalcy. Lily sat eating from a tray while her mother stood at the window, staring into darkness. Both turned when he entered. Is it always like this? Nora gestured toward the door, guards in suspicion and feeling like prey. You get used to it. She didn't look convinced. Lily's getting scared, doesn't understand why we can't go back to our room, because your room is servant quarters with 30 women already gossiping about your elevation. Dominic checked window angles and approaches. Tomorrow changes everything. After I make the announcement, you're either protected by pack law or targeted for elimination. No middle ground. What if they don't believe you? Then we show evidence. Letters, a locket, bloodline testing. Bloodline testing. Ancient ritual. Wolves consent family. Not perfect, but traditional enough, the pack accepts it. Nora turned, and in lamplight, she looked so much like Elena that old wounds tore fresh. She'd be proud of you. My mother, Elena. Whoever she was both. Catherine was survival, Elena was truth. Which one am I? Genuine confusion. Nora Ashford's servant. Or whoever you're about to tell the world, I am your whoever you choose. The crown doesn't change that. Doesn't it? Dominic remembered his own father, the old Alpha, who'd ruled with iron discipline. Remembered taking the crown and feeling its weight settle like a physical thing. It changes everything. But who you are at core, that stays the same. If you let it. Lily approached with bread, offering it with solemn ceremony. Grandma says you should eat. You look sad. Dominic accepted the bread. When does your grandmother speak? In dreams. Sometimes when awake if I'm really quiet. What does she say? Lily's face scrunched with concentration. That you were always brave. That you fought for what's right, even when hard. She tilted her head. Are you brave? I'm trying to be. That's what brave means. Trying when scared. He ate the bread, found it tasteless, but swallowed anyway. Elena would have liked you. She says she does. That I remind her of you when young. The idea of Elena watching from whatever came after seeing their granddaughter grow, knowing he'd finally found them comforting or heartbreaking. He hadn't decided. You should sleep. Tomorrow will be difficult. Lily yawned, jaw cracking. Nora scooped her up with practiced ease. Where should we bedroom? Through that door. Secure. Finn outside if you need anything. Nora hesitated. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for existing. After they'd gone, Dominic settled in the chair by the window, knowing sleep wouldn't come. His mind churned through scenarios, planning assembly with tactical focus that had kept him alive 3 decades. Present Nora and Lily as fact, not theory. Overwhelm objection with evidence and tradition. The letters would help. The locket was physical proof. But the real test would be pack reaction. Wolves trusted senses more than words. If enough confirmed bloodline through scent council, objections would crumble. But if they didn't, footsteps announced Garrett's return. His second entered carrying a thick folder. Reports from runners. Marcus Steele will be here by morning. Derek Stone sending in his second, can't leave territory undefended, but the gesture shows support. Helena Cross, waiting to see how this plays. Kane Garrett's expression darkened. Hasn't responded, but scouts report increased activity along southern border. He's mobilizing, expecting me weakened by internal conflict. Planning for it. Dominic scanned intelligence reports. Numbers, positions, supply lines. Victor was preparing for war, waiting for the right moment. Tomorrow's assembly gives him that moment. unless you crush internal dissent so thoroughly he reconsiders. What are my odds of surviving tomorrow? 50-50. Holding the pack together after lower. Always the optimist. Someone has to balance your stubborn refusal to see obstacles. Despite everything, Dominic almost smiled. What would I do without you? Get yourself killed within a week. Probably. Garrett moved to the window, standing shoulder to shoulder in easy silence. After a moment, he spoke again. I knew Elena. Not well, I was young when she died. But I remember her kindness. How she'd tend injured wolves even when they insulted her humanity. How she made your father smile, which no one thought possible. She had that effect. Nora has it too. I saw it in how she holds Lily. That fierce protection mixed with gentleness. If she's really Elena's daughter, she is. Then you have a chance to finish what Elena started. Build the pack she envisioned. If the pack doesn't tear itself apart first, then we make sure it doesn't. Night deepened the castle, settling into quiet hours when even wolves slept. Dominic remained at his post, watching over territory he'd fled for protecting family just found. Dawn would bring war. He'd be ready. The hours before sunrise belonged to warriors and insomniacs. Dominic walked the castle perimeter, checking defenses with thoroughness, expecting attack. Walls had stood for centuries, stone foundations sunk deep into bedrock. Guard towers marked each corner, manned by wolves whose night vision surpassed human daylight sight. Everything looked secure, everything except rot inside. He completed circuit and found Nora awake, standing with a mug smelling of chamomile. She'd changed into something slightly better, still simple and worn, but clean. Hair hung loose around shoulders, and in pre-dawn light she looked painfully young. Too young for pack politics. Too unprepared for approaching war. Couldn't sleep. Nora shook her head, kept thinking about today, what I'm supposed to say, how to act. I'm a kitchen servant. Don't know how to be whatever this is. You don't have to know. Just be yourself. That's what my mother said. She wrapped hands around the mug. Right before telling me all the ways being myself would get me killed. Smart woman. The compliment caught her off guard. She studied him over the cup rim. Did you love her? Really love her? Not just mate bond, forcing attachment. The question cut deeper than intended. Dominic moved to the window, watching eastern sky lighten from black to deep purple. I loved her the way you love air. Didn't realize how much I needed her until gone. And now I'm angry. At her for not trusting me. At myself for giving reason not to. At the council for making her feel running was safer than staying. He turned, but mostly grateful she survived long enough to give me a second chance. At what? Protecting my family. Lily emerged, rubbing sleep from eyes' hair in wild tangles, wearing a nightgown mended past recognition. Is it time? Not yet, sweetheart. Nora set down her mug and gathered her daughter. Few more hours. I had another dream. Both adults went still. Dominic knelt. What did you see, bad men? Angry wolves. Lily's small hand found her mother's. But Grandma says don't be scared. Says truth is stronger than lies. Your grandmother was an optimist. She says you should be too. What else? That when people get angry, remember why you're doing this. Not for power, for family. Smart woman is Elena. Even dead, she knew how to cut to the heart. Sun rose over mountains ancient before humans walked this land. Dominic dressed in formal regalia for the first time in years. Ceremonial robes, black wool lined with silver fox fur pack crest embroidered across the back, in thread catching light like captured moon. Weight felt familiar and foreign. Garrett entered as Dominic fastened final clasps. Ready as I'll ever be. His second wore his own formal attire, less elaborate, but no less martial. Marcus Steele arrived an hour ago, requesting audience before assembly. Send him up. The older Alpha entered with confident bearing of someone comfortable with held power. Marcus Steele carried 55 years, well-bodied, still thick with muscle despite gray threading, dark hair. Scars marked face and hands, lifetime of survived challenges. Dominic. Marcus clasped his forearm in traditional warrior greeting. Got your runner's cryptic message. Had to be. Walls have ears. Marcus's eyes swept the room. This about Elena? In a way, the older Alpha's expression softened. I love that woman like a sister. When she died, part of this territory died with her. She didn't die, words hung between them. Marcus went very still, warrior instincts sensing something massive shifting. Explain. Dominic laid out evidence piece by piece. Letters, locket, Nora's age and resemblance, Lily's existence. Marcus listened without interruption, face cycling through shock and disbelief and growing fury. The council did this, can't prove it yet, but yes. And you're claiming the daughter as heir, I'm claiming my daughter as my daughter. Heir question comes later. Marcus moved to window hands clasped behind back. You know what this costs? Political capital, alliances, stability you've built, I know. And you're doing it anyway. Elena gave her life protecting our child. I won't dishonor that sacrifice by letting fear stop me from finishing what she started. Marcus turned respect shining in his eyes. Your father would have called you a fool. My father was a cold bastard who valued power over people. And you're not, I'm trying not to be. Marcus studied him, then nodded once. Eastern Ridge stands with you, whatever comes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get ugly. The assembly hall filled as noon approached. Hundreds of wolves packed the space, combined scent mixing anticipation and unease. Word had spread, not details, but enough to know something significant was happening. Council sat in traditional positions. Thorne's face granite, Celine's carefully neutral, Bennett looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Around them, pack members found places, warriors front rows, families behind elders in honored positions along sides. Dominic entered last presence, commanding immediate silence. He took position at front, elevated so all could see. Garrett stood right, Marcus left. Show of force and unity. My people, his voice carried without shouting. Thank you for gathering. He let pause stretch building tension. For 26 years, I've led as alpha without mate or heir. Many questioned this. Some called it weakness. Others suggested I'm unfit to continue. Murmurs rippled. This wasn't how assemblies usually started. Today you learn why I refused another mate, why I held positions empty, why I carried grief as constant companion. He signaled Garrett, who opened the antechamber door. Nora entered first, holding Lily's hand. She wore Elena's dress, simple blue wool fitting perfectly. Locket hung at throat-catching lamplight. Resemblance to the Luna was unmistakable. The hall erupted in shocked gasps and frantic whispers. Wolves half rose, trying to see better. Council members went rigid, carefully maintained composure cracking. This is Nora Ashford, Dominic's voice cut chaos. Daughter of Elena Blackwood, my mate, my Luna. The woman you believe died 26 years ago. Thorne surged up. This is outrageous. Elena is dead. We have no proof. Dominic held up letters, pages crackling in sudden silence. Proof in her own hand, explaining why she fled, who she fled from, what she was protecting. He read excerpts, voice steady despite building rage. Elena's words describing council plot, overheard conversation, decision to fake death and disappear. Every sentence landed like hammer blows. When finished, silence was absolute. Then like a dam breaking, the hall exploded. Wolves shouting questions, demanding answers, some crying, others furious. Council members sat frozen, carefully constructed lies unraveling. Dominic waited for noise to subside. Nora is my daughter, my heir by blood and law. And this, he placed his hand on Lily's shoulder, is my granddaughter carrying alpha bloodline despite apparent humanity. Thorne found his voice. Extraordinary claims requiring extraordinary proof. Any woman could walk in with convenient story, then let the pack decide. Dominic looked over assembled wolves. Ancient tradition allows bloodline verification through scent. Any who doubt, come forward. Test yourselves. For a moment, no one moved. Then an older female stood sage, one of the pack's most respected elders. She approached slowly, movements careful with age. When she reached Nora, she leaned in and inhaled deeply. The old wolf's eyes widened. She stepped back, bowed her head. Luna Elena's scent, mixed with Alpha's. This is their daughter. Others came forward, then warriors, elders, common pack members. One by one confirming what Dominic claimed. Scent didn't lie. Nora carried both parents' bloodlines unmistakable to wolf senses. When they reached Lily, reaction was even stronger. The child's diluted genetics didn't mask Alpha's signature buried in blood. Kira Cross, one of Garrett's most trusted, spoke loud enough for all. The child is alpha-blooded, faint but present. She has the gift. The hall's energy shifted, shock giving way to acceptance, questions giving way to understanding. Dominic felt pack consciousness tilt in his favor. Then Celine stood, voice cutting like blades. Even if we accept this woman as Elena's daughter, which I'm not convinced of, that doesn't change the fundamental problem. She's human. The child is human. They can't shift, can't fully participate, can't what? Dominic's voice dropped dangerously. Can't be family, can't deserve protection, can't have worth beyond transformation ability. This isn't about worth, about pack law, tradition, about power. Dominic stepped forward, full alpha presence bearing down. You want to know real tradition, real pack law? An alpha's mate and offspring are sacred. Family is protected above all. Anyone threatening them commits treason. He let that word hang. Elena fled because she overheard you. Thorne Celine Bennett plotting to murder her and our unborn child. She ran to save our daughter's life. Now you stand here trying to deny Nora's legitimacy. Thorne's face went purple. You have no proof of conspiracy. I have Elena's letters, her testimony in her own hand. 26 years of your lies. Letters can be forged, then challenge them. Bring evidence, they're false. Dominic looked over Pack. But until you do, they stand as truth. And truth demands justice. Pack howled approval sound rattling rafters, making air vibrate. Council members stood isolated, surrounded by wolves who suddenly saw them with new eyes. Bennett broke first, rose slowly, face ashen. Alpha, the Pack, He swallowed hard, spoke words changing everything. It's true, all of it. Conspiracy plot to kill Elena. I helped her escape. New silence, this revelation stealing breath. Why Dominic's voice carried barely controlled fury. Why help after planning murder? Because I have a daughter. Bennett's hands shook. Thorne threatened her, said if I didn't participate, my family would suffer. So I did. But when Elena came begging for help, I couldn't. He broke off, tears streaming. I gave her money, created false trail, making it look like rogues killed her. Carried that guilt 26 years. Thorne lunged at Bennett, shifted mid-leap into wolf form. But Garrett was faster, intercepting and slamming Thorne's wolf into ground with bone-crushing force. Warriors poured forward, restraining both before more violence erupted. Celine remained seated, composure finally shattered. Face held fury, and something else, jealousy perhaps, or old grief given teeth. This changes nothing. Voice shook. Elena was a mistake. Weakness. She made Dominic soft, made him value peace over strength. My sister, the revelation hit like lightning. Dominic's head snapped toward her. Your sister Celine's laugh carried bitterness. Did she never tell you Elena and I were sisters? Blackwood blood, both. And you chose her. Courted me for months, made me believe I'd be Luna, then met her and forgot I existed. Everything clicked. Hatred, conspiracy, all rooted in jealousy and rejection. So you killed her. I tried to. Celine stood dignity, somehow intact despite everything crumbling. Because she took what should have been mine. Now her spawn comes claiming rights to position that. Enough. Dominic's word carried absolute command. Silence fell. Counselor Thorne. Counselor Celine, you stand accused of conspiracy to commit murder treason against your alpha crimes against pack law. You'll be confined pending formal trial. Guards moved forward, but Thorne's wolf surged against restraints. Dominic shifted without thought. Massive black wolf form, silver streaking fur. He pinned Thorne easily, jaws at throat. Yield or D? Thorne went still, submission rolling off him. I yield. Dominic shifted back, clothes reforming through pack magic. Guards hauled Thorne and Celine away, protests fading as they were dragged toward dungeons. Bennett remained still, weeping quietly. And you, Counselor Stone? The older wolf looked up with exhausted eyes. I deserve death. I helped plan it, even if I couldn't follow through. Whatever punishment, Dominic raised his hand. You also saved Elena's life. Saved Nora's. That counts. He looked over Pack. Justice requires balance. Bennett Stone, you're stripped of counsel position, but granted clemency for protecting my mate and daughter. You'll serve the Pack in whatever capacity I assign, and your granddaughter remains safe under my protection. Bennett collapsed to knees, gratitude and grief warring. Assembly continued another hour, Dominic addressing concerns and establishing new reality. Nora as crown princess. Lily as heir apparent to be trained when of age. council positions to be filled with proven, loyal wolves. Through it all, Nora stood silent and dignified, Lily holding her hand with patient acceptance of children used to adult chaos. When it finally ended, when Pack had accepted and new order was established, Dominic found himself alone with Garrett in the war room once more. That went better than expected. Or worse, we've made enemies of everyone valuing tradition over truth. They were already enemies, now we just know it. Garrett moved a window. Victor Kane will hear within hours. He'll see it as weakness division he can exploit. Then he'll be wrong. Will he? Dominic joined his second. We're stronger now than this morning. We have unity of purpose, truth on our side. Truth doesn't win wars, strategy and strength do. Then we better have both. Dawn found Dominic not in the war room, but the training yard, hands wrapped in leather fists, pounding the striking post until knuckles split. Physical pain easier to process than the emotional weight of yesterday's revelations? Garrett appeared with coffee and concern. You've been out here 3 hours. Needed to think. And I'm 50 years old about to face a 35-year-old alpha in his prime. The math doesn't favor thinking. His second set down the coffee. Then we change the math. Make it about strategy instead of strength. Over the next week, the castle transformed into armed camp. Marcus Steele's warriors that drilled alongside Ravenclaw wolves. Derek Stone's second arrived with 20 fighters bringing news. Helena Cross maintained strict neutrality, wouldn't interfere, but wouldn't help. And Victor Kane's forces massed on southern border, making no secret of intentions. Training evolved. Garrett abandoned making Dominic faster, focused on making him smarter. They studied terrain, analyzed Kane's fighting patterns until Dominic could predict moves 3 exchanges ahead. Slowly, painfully, strategy emerged. I can't outlast him. Dominic stood over diagrams Garrett had drawn. So I make him waste energy early. Defensive fighting, minimal movement, maximum efficiency. He'll adapt, not fast enough. Kane's used to overwhelming opponents in minutes. If I force the fight past 10, his conditioning becomes a question. That's a lot of ifs, better than no plan. Marcus had been observing. There's one more option you haven't considered. Dominic looked up. The Luna bond. Every wolf went still. Ancient ritual allowing Luna to share strength with Alpha during combat, banned by some packs, honored by others, always controversial. Nora's not my Luna. She's my daughter. She's Elena's blood. That might be enough. And if it's not, if I bond and fall, she dies too. I won't risk it. Marcus nodded, accepting without argument. Just wanted you to consider all options. But seed was planted. Dominic found himself thinking about it through evening meal, another brutal session, long hours when sleep refused. Luna bond could give needed edge, turn probable loss into possible victory. But the cost, asking his newly found daughter to risk her life for his, felt like the kind of choice destroying whatever humanity remained. He was still wrestling when attack came. Alarm cut midnight silence like blades. Perimeter breach, eastern wall. Dominic moved before full consciousness, body operating on 3 decades muscle memory. Grabbed weapons kept beside bed, shifted form. Didn't need steel, but approach gave seconds to assess and plan. Garrett met him in corridor, already armed. Rogues, at least 20, coordinated assault. They ran toward eastern wall warriors, joining from every direction. Castle's defensive design funneled attackers into kill zones. But coordinated meant trained. Trained meant funded. Which meant this wasn't random. Eastern courtyard had become battlefield. Rogues in wolf form clashed with Ravenclaw, defenders bloodstaining snow, in patterns making hunters sick. Dominic shifted mid-stride, massive battle-scarred wolf form, silver threading black fur. He hit nearest rogue at full speed, jaws closing on neck, with precision of someone who'd killed this way 1,000 times. Bone crunched. Rogue went limp. Dominic was already moving toward next target before body hit ground. Fight devolved into chaos and instinct. Dominic's wolf moved through enemies like death-given fur and fangs. Each attack calculated for maximum efficiency. But even fighting, his tactical mind worked. 20 rogues didn't coordinate themselves. Someone hired them. Someone who knew castle layout well enough to pick eastern wall oldest section, weakest defenses. Someone inside had betrayed them. Thought crystallized when Dominic saw the real target. 3 rogues had broken through main defense, heading not toward armory or war room, but toward Alpha Wing, toward where Nora and Lily slept. Dominic ran. His wolf form covered ground faster than human, but rogues had head start. He saw them reach corridor, saw one break down sitting room door, where he'd left his daughter and granddaughter under guard. Saw Finn the young warrior go down under two wolves' throat-torn life spilling across ancient stone. Then Dominic was there, Black Nightmare hitting rogues with fury, transcending strategy. Didn't fight clean, didn't fight fair. Fought with absolute certainty these wolves were trying to kill his family and would die for attempt. First rogue died with shattered spine. Second lost half its face to Dominic's claws. Third tried running, made it 3 steps before Dominic's jaws closed around hindquarters, dragging it back to justice delivered in blood and bone. When red haze cleared, Dominic stood human again. Naked and covered in gore, not his, surrounded by bodies that would never move. Behind him, Garrett and Kira arrived with reinforcements too late to matter. Inside sitting room, Nora stood with Lily behind her holding broken chair leg like a weapon. Eyes wide with terror, but hands didn't shake. She'd been ready to fight, ready to die protecting her daughter. Dominic felt something crack in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or recognition that Elena's strength lived on in unexpected ways. You're safe, Finn. I know. He died protecting you. That's what warriors do. Nora's composure broke. She sank to knees, still clutching makeshift weapon sobs racking her frame in waves she'd held back through pure will. Lily knelt beside her small arms, wrapping around her mother with fierce protectiveness of children who'd learned too young safety was temporary. Dominic left them to Kira's care, returned to courtyard where warriors finished cleanup. Of 20 rogues, 18 were dead. 2 taken alive for interrogation. Garrett stood over survivor's boot on one wolf's throat. Ready when you are. Interrogation didn't take long. Rogues broke easily, facing pack justice, loose affiliations, no match for fear of slow death. They confirmed what Dominic suspected, hired by gold they couldn't resist, ordered to kill the human woman and child, make it look like collateral damage. Who paid you? The rogue's eyes held glazed look of someone beyond caring. Old wolf, council robes. Didn't give name. Thorn. Dominic's hands clenched. Bastard had tried assassination from his cell using contacts built over decades of corruption. Where is he? Garrett's expression darkened. Escaped during attack. Guard found dead cell door open. How long? Hour, maybe less. Can't have gotten far. Find him. Dominic's voice carried death in every syllable. Use every tracker. I want him brought back alive. And if he resists, then bring me his head. Warriors scattered. Dominic stood watching snow fall on blood-soaked ground, feeling weight of every decision leading to this moment. Finn's body was being carried with honor due fallen warriors. 23 years old, barely begun life. Dead because Dominic had brought targets into castle and painted them with protection, making them worth killing. Cost of family. Price of duty. He was still standing there when dawn broke, when Nora emerged wrapped in cloak against cold. She didn't speak, just stood beside him the way Elena used to, sharing presence without demanding words. I'm sorry. The apology came rough. For Finn, the danger, all of it. Don't be. Nora's voice held steady despite night's trauma. You didn't send those wolves. You're just cleaning up messes other people made. That's what being an alpha means. Then it's a terrible job. Usually, they watch sun rise over mountains, witnessing centuries of violence, and would witness centuries more. Ancient stone didn't care about individual struggles. It just endured. Dominic wondered if that was the real secret, not strength or strategy or stubborn refusal to quit. Just ability to endure until endurance was all you had left. 3 days later, trackers found Thorn hiding in a mining camp 40 miles south, where rogue wolves traded in things decent packs wouldn't touch. They brought him back in silver chains, burning his wrists, keeping him weak and unable to shift. Trial convened in Great Hall with witnesses from all 5 packs. Ancient law demanding justice be seen and recorded. Dominic sat judgment flanked by Marcus and Derek Stone's second neutral parties, ensuring fairness, even when fairness felt like luxury they couldn't afford. Thorn stood defiant despite chains, didn't deny hiring rogues, didn't apologize for attempting murder on Nora and Lily's lives. I did what was necessary to protect pack purity. You murdered Aluna and tried to kill her daughter. Dominic's voice carried absolute authority. That's not protection. That's treason. Elena weakened you, made you choose peace over strength, compassion over conquest. The old wolf's eyes blazed. My son died because of her influence. died in border skirmish that could have been prevented if you'd retaliated hard and fast instead of negotiating. Your son died because war is unpredictable and soldiers fall. Blaming Elena doesn't change that. She changed everything. Thorn surged against chains, silver smoking against skin. Before her, you were a warrior. After her, you became soft. And soft alphas get packs killed. Marcus stood. Counselor Thorn, you stand accused of conspiracy to commit murder 26 years ago, hiring rogues to attack pack members under alpha protection, escaping lawful confinement. How do you answer guilty? And I'd do it again. Admission rippled through assembled wolves. No remorse, no regret, just cold certainty actions had been justified. Dominic looked at the wolf who'd advised him 3 decades, who'd stood beside him through challenges and conflicts, who'd smiled while plotting murder in shadows. Felt something like grief for what trust cost when betrayed. Anything else to say? Thorn met his eyes, old wolf's expression softening into something almost human. I genuinely believed I was protecting the pack. That has to count for something. It doesn't. Vote was unanimous. Exile with understanding that returning meant immediate execution. No trial, no mercy, just justice that let a traitor live, but stripped away everything making life worth living. As guards prepared to escort Thorn to border Old Wolf, stopped before Dominic. You were the best alpha we've had in a century. I'm sorry I couldn't see past my grief to understand that. Then you should have trusted me when Elena was alive. I know, that's what I'll die regretting. They led him away. Dominic watched the wolf who'd helped shape his reign disappear into exile. Another piece of past severed. Another connection to the man he'd been before Elena cut loose and drifting. Celine's trial followed fate identical to Thorn's. But where Old Warrior had shown flickers of humanity, Elena's sister remained ice to end. My only regret is the rogues failed. Then live with that failure for however long exile grants you. She left without looking back, dignity intact even as everything crumbled. Trials left Dominic hollow. Justice served felt less like victory and more like watching gangrene spread, cutting infected flesh to save the body, but body diminished with every cut. 16 days until Victor Kane. Training intensified to brutality. Dominic pushed through pain that would have hospitalized lesser wolves, body protesting every session with vocabulary of age and accumulated damage. But slowly, grudgingly, muscle memory adapted. Tactics evolved from matching Kane's aggression to exploiting patterns younger wolves repeated without realizing. Arrogant opening, overcommitted strike, split-second vulnerability from never facing opponents who survived past first exchange. Garrett watched one particularly vicious session where Dominic took a younger warrior apart piece by piece, defensive fighting, giving no openings, and punishing every mistake. That's it. That's how you win. If my body holds, it will, because alternative is unacceptable. Dominic shifted back, accepting water from Kira. Shoulders screamed where claws reopened old silver wound. Ribs ached from impacts, leaving bruises for weeks. I'm slower than I was, but smarter. In long fights, smart beats strong. Question is whether I can make it a long fight. That night, Nora found him in Elena's garden, where Wolf's Bane bloomed despite autumn frost. She'd been avoiding him since rogue attack processing trauma, the way survivors did, throwing herself into anything, not requiring thinking about how close death had come. Can we talk? Dominic gestured to bench beside him, stone cold enough to bite through clothing. She sat anyway. I want to do the Luna bond. No, you haven't heard my reasoning. I don't need to. Answer is no. Nora's jaw set with familiar, stubborn determination. You're going to lose without it, probably. And you're okay with that. I'm okay with not risking your life for mine. There's difference. She turned to face him directly, eyes holding fire, making Dominic understand why Elena had been willing to die protecting this woman. I've spent 26 years surviving by being invisible, by making myself small and unimportant and beneath notice. I'm tired of it. This isn't about visibility. It's about survival. It's about both. Nora stood pacing small garden with energy needing outlet. My whole life, my mother told me to hide what I was, who I was, where I came from. And I did because she was right. Being visible got you killed. She still is right. Is she? Because from where I'm standing, hiding didn't protect her. Didn't protect me. Just delayed inevitable. Dominic watched frost form on Wolf's Bane petals. Delicate crystals melting with dawn. inevitable, as if death was just another appointment. Lunabond requires ritual preparation. Training I haven't given you. And even then, I fall, you fall with me. That's not negotiable. Then don't fall. Simple confidence in her voice made him want to laugh or scream. Don't fall, as if will alone could overcome biology and time. Lily appeared from castle wrapped in oversized cloak. She'd been having nightmares since attack waking, screaming about red-eyed wolves and knife teeth. Nora gathered her close automatically movement, so practiced it was nearly unconscious. Did Grandma Elena say anything about this? Dominic asked half joking, but Lily's expression went serious. She says Mama needs to be brave. That being brave means doing scary things because they're right. Not sure a 6-year-old's dreams count as tactical advice. Grandma also says you're being stubborn because you're scared of losing people again. Observation hit harder than training blows. Dominic looked at this child who shouldn't read him so clearly, who carried enough wolf blood to sense truths most missed. Your grandmother was too perceptive for her own good. She says that too. Despite everything approaching combat political pressures 30 years bearing down, Dominic almost smiled. Elena speaking through granddaughter's innocent wisdom. Even dead, she knew how to cut to hearts. If we do this, if we attempt the bomb, you understand what you're risking, Nora nodded, expression grave. I understand. But I also understand you have already lost one family protecting us. I won't let you lose another by refusing help. That's not how this works. Then explain how it does. Because right now it looks like you're so afraid of failing us, you won't let us help you succeed. Words echoed in garden, mixing with wind, carrying snow from high peaks. Dominic thought about Elena, about choice she'd made to run rather than trust him to protect her. About how that choice had cost 26 years. About how fear of loss could be more destructive than loss itself. Fine, we try the bond, but if anything goes wrong, if I sense danger, I break it. Understood. Understood. Luna Bond ritual required 3 days preparation. Nora fasted, drank bitter tea, clearing toxins from human systems, meditated in sacred grove where generations of Lunas had performed same ceremony. Dominic watched her transform from uncertain kitchen servant to something approaching role Elena had held. On third day, under swollen full moon, pack gathered to witness. Not all, some still questioned whether half-blood daughter could channel Luna power, but enough that ritual carried weight. Nora knelt at moonpool water, reflecting silver light onto her face. She wore white traditional for bonding hair, loose around shoulders that had learned to carry unexpected weight. Elder Sage spoke ancient words, voice carrying across assembled wolves. The Luna offers strength to Alpha. Alpha accepts burden of protection. Two become one in service to pack. Dominic knelt opposite Nora, water between them cold enough to ache. He'd done this once before 27 years ago when Elena had performed same ritual. Remembered how Bond had felt like lightning through veins, like suddenly being twice as alive. Remembered how it had snapped when she disappeared, leaving wound never fully healing. Nora's hand found his across water, skin warm despite cold grip, steady despite obvious fear. She spoke oath in unwavering voice. I offer my strength to Alpha. I accept burden of shared fate. I bind myself to pack and purpose. Dominic completed response, feeling words reshape reality beyond mere speaking. I accept Luna's strength. I bear burden of protection. I bind myself to pack and purpose. Bond snapped into place like completing circuit. Energy flowed between them, not magical in fantasy sense, but real the way pack bonds were real. Shared breath, shared heartbeat, shared awareness of each other's presence persisting until death or deliberate severing. Nora gasped, eyes going wide. I can feel you, your thoughts, your pain, everything. It fades, becomes manageable. But yes, Bond connects us now. Pack howled approval, accepting legitimacy of what they'd witnessed. Marcus approached, offering formal congratulations with weight of someone understanding what this meant. Your Luna does you honor. She does Elena's memory honor. That matters more. Final days before combat passed in compressed urgency. Dominic felt Nora's presence like constant warmth in his mind's back, her determination bolstering his when doubt crept in. Lily trained with Elder Sage healing abilities, developing faster than anyone expected. And scouts reported Victor Kane had arrived with an army, not just warriors for challenge. Hundreds of Iron Claw wolves setting camp around sacred combat grounds like this was conquest rather than formal challenge. He's planning something. Garrett studied reports with tactician's suspicion. This isn't about single combat anymore. It never was. Kane wants territory. Challenge is just legal cover for invasion. So what do we do, Win? And make it so decisive his pack loses appetite for war. Night before combat, Dominic stood in chambers checking weapons he wouldn't be allowed to carry. Ritual of preparation mattered more than tools. Focus. Center. Remember, 30 years of experience counted for something. Lily Noct entered without waiting because she'd learned grandfathers made exceptions children could exploit. She carried flower crown wolf's bane and mountain laurel woven with careful precision. For luck. Dominic knelt, let her place crown on his head. Flowers smelled of Elena's garden of memories, kept alive through decades of tending. Thank you. Grandma says to tell you she loves you. That she's always loved you even when too scared to stay. His throat tightened. Tell her I understand. And I love her too. She knows. Lily smiled with confidence of children believing in things adults forgot. She says you're going to win because you fight for love, and love makes warriors strong. Your grandmother always knew right things to say. After Lily left, Dominic removed flower crown and placed it carefully on table. Simple blooms, poisonous and beautiful. Reminder that dangerous things could have purpose. He slept fitfully, dreams mixing past and present, until he couldn't separate what had been from what was coming. Dawn arrived cold and clear, winter asserting dominance over autumn's last resistance. Dominic dressed in ceremonial robes that would be shed before combat ritual of preparation, calming nerves. 30 years of challenges should have settled by now. Garrett entered as Dominic fastened final clasps. Ready as I'll ever be. His second studied him with eyes that had seen too many battles. You know the plan. Defensive fighting patience, wait for his pattern, and hope my body holds. It will, because you're too damn stubborn to let it fail. They clasped forearms, warriors goodbye, acknowledging death as possibility without giving it power through speech. Sacred combat grounds occupied neutral territory 3 hours north. Natural amphitheater carved by glaciers 10,000 years before wolves learned walking upright. Stone benches ring central clearing where challenges had been settled for centuries, earth stained with blood no rain could fully wash. Hundreds of wolves filled space. 5 packs represented witnesses from territories bordering Ravenclaw lands. Rogues who'd come to watch legend, either confirmed or destroyed. Victor Kane stood at South End surrounded by Ironclaw warriors radiating predatory confidence. Challenger looked every inch prime alpha, 35 years carried in muscle and scars, russet red wolf form, visible in shoulder set even in human shape. Dominic approached from North delegation, smaller but no less determined. Nora walked beside him, presence through bond, a steady pulse of shared strength. Lily held her mother's hand, small and solemn, in ways children shouldn't be. Ancient elders waited at center wolves, so old fur had gone silver white, in authority predating nations and territories. Eldest female named Mora, who'd witnessed challenges since before Dominic was born, raised hand for silence. Challenge has been issued and accepted. Victor Kane of Ironclaw claims Dominic Ravenclaw unfit to rule, his acceptance of half-blood heir, proving weakness. Combat will determine truth. She turned to Victor. Challenger, state your terms. Victory grants me Ravenclaw territory and all wolves therein. Defeated Alpha goes into exile or death, his choice. Mora's ancient eyes shifted to Dominic. Defender, do you accept? I accept. With addition that if I win, Ironclaw recognizes my heir's legitimacy and ceases all territorial aggression for 10 years. Victor's jaw tightened, but ancient law bound him. Agreed, rules are known. Shifted form, fight to yield, or death, no outside interference. Begin when ready. Both alphas moved to opposite clearing ends. Dominic's shed robes felt winter air bite skin, soon covered in fur. Across space, Victor did same body testament to decades of training and natural gifts. Nora's voice touched his mind through bond. Remember, you're smarter than him. Use that, planning to. I love you. Words came unexpected raw. In case I don't get to say it after. You'll say it after, because I'm not dying today. He shifted, feeling familiar transformation rush. Bone reshaping, muscle relocating. world sharpening into sensing sounds human senses couldn't process. His wolf form emerged, black fur shot through with silver battle scars mapping lifetime of survived challenges. Across clearing, Victor shifted into russet muscle and fury, larger than Dominic by 50 pounds, younger by 15 years. Ancient Elder's voice cut winter silence. Begin. Victor exploded forward with aggressive opening Dominic had studied for weeks. Raw speed and power claws extended, going for quick finish, working against everyone else. Dominic didn't meet charge. Sidestepped at last, possible second, let momentum carry Victor past. Raked claws across younger Wolf's flank as he passed, not deep, but drawing first blood. Crowd roared. Victor spun, confusion flickering across lupine features. Opponents didn't dodge. They met aggression head-on and broke against it. Dominic circled, keeping distance, forcing Victor to chase. Pattern emerged exactly as predicted, aggressive strike over commitment, split-second vulnerability. Dominic exploited it twice more, landing shallow cuts, bleeding and infuriating without crippling. 5 minutes passed. Victor's breathing quickened, frustration making him sloppy. He charged again, this time telegraphing moves so clearly, Dominic almost felt sorry. Almost. Dominic ducked under snapping jaws, drove shoulder into Victor's chest, used younger Wolf's momentum to flip him. Victor landed hard, rolled away before Dominic could press advantage. Pattern continued, Victor attacking with decreasing precision, Dominic defending with patience of someone who'd learned time was a weapon younger wolves never considered. 10 minutes. Victor was panting, hard, pristine form, showing a dozen bleeding cuts. None serious, but cumulative effect was obvious. He was slowing. Dominic felt it through bond. Nora channeling pack energy, hundreds of wolves lending strength through her connection. Not enough to make him young again, but enough to compensate for age's disadvantages. 15 minutes. Victor's attacks had become desperate, aggressive style deteriorating into wild swings, leaving massive openings. Dominic capitalized ruthlessly, targeting legs to cripple mobility, flanks to bleed and weaken. 20 minutes. Younger Wolf was limping, blood-matting russet fur, dark and wet. Dominic had taken damage, 2 gash across shoulder bite wounds on left foreleg, but nothing impairing function. Victor lunged once more, but this time it was obvious he knew he was beaten. Movement carried defeat in every muscle. Dominic met attack-locked jaws with challenger used superior leverage to force him down. Victor's throat lay exposed beneath Dominic's fangs. One bite would end it. 30 seconds of pressure, and Iron Claw would need new alpha. Yield. Victor's mental voice carried through bond all wolves shared in combat. Submission absolute. Dominic held position a moment longer, making dominance clear, then released. Both wolves shifted back to human, naked and bloody, and breathing hard. Victor stayed on knees, head bowed. I yield. You were better warrior today. Ancient Elder's voice rang out. Dominic Ravenclaw victorious. By ancient law, Victor Kane recognizes legitimacy of Crown Princess Nora and her heir. Iron Claw ceases territorial aggression for 10 years. Assembled wolves erupted in howls, shaking snow from surrounding pines. Ravenclaw wolves celebrating. Ironclaw wolves showing respect to defeated alpha who'd acknowledged superior skill. Dominic extended hand helped Victor to feet. Younger Wolf met his eyes with something like understanding. You taught me humility. That's valuable. You'll be great alpha someday. Just needed tempering. As healers rushed forward to tend combat wounds, Dominic felt bond pulse with Nora's joy and relief. Felt Lily's presence through his daughter's connection, child's excitement bleeding through layers of pack magic. They'd won. Not just combat, but everything it represented. Legitimacy, security, future Elena had died trying to protect. But as guards began ushering Victor's forces away and Ravenclaw wolves celebrated, Dominic saw Nora collapse. Bond had taken too much. Her human body couldn't sustain energy transfer. Full wolves handled easily. She lay unconscious in snow, breathing shallow skin, pale beyond normal. Lily ran to her mother, small hands frantically shaking shoulders, not responding. Mama, Mama, wake up. Dominic shifted focus, tried pouring strength back through bond, but channel ran one direction. He'd taken everything she had to give and left her drained beyond recovery. No, not after everything. Not when they just won. Not when future was finally within reach. Elder Sage pushed through crowd, ancient knowledge applied to pulse barely registering. She gave too much. Her human blood can't replenish fast enough. Dominic knelt beside his daughter, this woman he'd known for weeks but who'd risked everything to save him. Fix her. I don't know how. This is beyond my skill. Then find someone who can. But it was Lily who moved, small hands remaining on her mother's face, tears streaming. She spoke in voice not quite her own, older weighted with wisdom borrowed from somewhere else. I can help. Small hands began to glow with soft white gold light, same color as healing she demonstrated after Rogue attack. But this was different. Stronger, more focused power making even ancient elders step back in awe. The child is Omega. Sage's voice carried wonder and fear. Seer, healer, catalyst. Three gifts that shouldn't exist in one vessel. Lily's power flowed into Nora, not healing wounds, but rebalancing energy Lunabon had stripped away. Color returned to pale cheeks. Breathing deepened. Eyes fluttered open. Mama Lily, Nora pulled her daughter close, understanding dawning. You healed me. Grandma showed me how. Dominic watched exchange, feeling something crack open in chest. This family he'd found. This impossible, beautiful, dangerous family Elena had protected with her life, and Nora had risked her own to preserve. They were going to survive. All of them. 3 months later, winter had settled into deep cold, making Montana legends. Castles stood warm against freeze fires burning in every hearth, life continuing with rhythm of hard-won peace. Dominic sat in the war room that had become less about war and more about administration. Trade agreements with Marcus Steele's pack. Cultural exchanges with Derek Stone's progressive faction. Even Helena Cross had extended tentative alliance after witnessing combat. Victor Kane visited monthly, fulfilling treaty obligations, but also building something that might become friendship. Younger Alpha had taken defeat as education, applying lessons to improving his own pack. Garrett entered carrying reports that could wait excuse to check on Wolf, who'd been his alpha and friend for 20 years. You look content. I look old. You've always looked old. Now you just look content about it. Fair enough. Nora had taken to Crown Princess role with practical determination she brought to everything. She'd established medical clinics in border territories, created programs for refugees fleeing violence, built bridges between human and wolf communities that had existed in mutual suspicion for centuries. Elena's legacy continued by her daughter. Lily trained with Elder Sage daily Omega abilities, developing under careful guidance. Childhood arrived as servant's daughter, now walked castle as acknowledged heir beloved by pack members who'd initially questioned her legitimacy. Castle hosted celebration that evening, winter solstice pack gathering, to mark year's darkest night and promise of returning light. Dominic stood on balcony overlooking Great Hall, watching wolves and humans mingle with easy comfort of people who'd learned to trust each other. Nora found him there, Lily's hand in hers. Child had grown inches in 3 months, face losing baby roundness and gaining angular features, marking her as beautiful when she came of age. Brooding, reflecting. Same thing for you. Nora leaned against railing, watching celebration below. Thank you for all this. You did as much as I did. I survived. You built something worth surviving for. Lily tugged Dominic's sleeve, demanding attention. Grandma Elena wants to talk to you. Both adults went still. Lily hadn't reported visions in weeks, gifts settling into patterns Elder Sage called normal for developing Omegas. What does she want to say? That she's proud. That you did what she always knew you could. Lily's expression turned solemn. She says she can rest now. That her family is safe. Tell her thank you. For everything. She knows. Lily smiled, moment passing, quickly as it arrived. Can I go play with other kids? Go. They watched her dart back into celebration energy and innocence and hope for futures, stretching beyond violence, defining their past. Think Elena really speaks through her or just child's imagination? Does it matter either way? Wisdom sound. Dominic considered question, watching his granddaughter laugh with packed children who'd accepted her without reservation. Elena's blood. His blood. Future they'd both protected in different ways. No, I suppose it doesn't. Later that night, when celebration had wound down and Castle settled into quiet hours, Dominic found himself in Elena's garden. Wolf's Bane bloomed despite winter's assault, purple petals defiant against frost. He knelt, touching flowers that had survived another year, spoke to memory and ghost and whatever remained of woman who'd changed everything. I found them, our daughter, our granddaughter. They're safe now. Wind rustled through bare branches, carrying snow settling on silver-shot hair. Dominic remained kneeling, paying respects to past while protecting future. When he finally stood joints protesting cold, he found peace in simple fact of survival. Not just his own, but Pax, families. Elena's legacy preserved and expanded beyond what either had imagined possible. Warrior's work was never finished. Threats would emerge, challenges would come. World didn't stop turning just because you'd won one battle. But for tonight, in this moment, with families safe and Pack thriving, Dominic allowed himself something he'd denied for 26 years: hope. Old Wolf walked back toward castle, toward warmth and light, and family he'd thought lost forever. Behind him, Wolf's bane flowers bent under winter's weight, but refused to break. Poisonous and beautiful and enduring. Just like love that had made all of this possible.